Oh, baby, give me one more chance. Come on, girl. When I had you to myself, I didn't want you around. That pretty face is always made you stand out. I want you back. Oh, baby, give me one more chance to show you that I love you. Won't you please let me? I want you back. Oh, my ABC, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 5. It's as simple as do, re, mi, ABC. 1, 2, 3, baby, you and me, girl.
You and I must make a pact. We must bring salvation back. Where there is love, I'll be there.
You got a friend. Bow, 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 da, da, da. Dancing, dancing, dancing.
And shout, shake your body down to the ground.
To the boys, don't stop till you get enough. To the boys, don't stop till you.
I wanna rock with you
I'll rock with you
all night. Dance you into the sunlight.
Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who claims that I am the one. Oh, he's not mine.
They told him, don't you ever come around here. Don't wanna see your face, you better disappear. The fire's in the eyes and the words are really clear. So beat it, beat it.
You wanna be starting something? Got to be starting something. I said you wanna be starting something. Got to be starting something.
Looking out, yeah, across the nighttime. The city winks a sleepless eye. They say, why? Tell them that it's human nature. Why?
'Cause this is thriller night. So let me hold you tight and make a killer, chiller thriller here tonight. I just can't stop loving you. I want to love you. DYT, pretty young thing. You need some loving. TLC to the loving care, and I'll take you there.
you know I'm bad, come on. You know I'm bad, you know it, girl.
And good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for Part 2, Link 2, on Michael Jackson's birthday bash for Sunday, August 29th, 2015. We conclude with our next guest. He's a current defense attorney in the state of California. He acquitted Michael on every count. And before they brought charges to Michael Jackson, those prosecutors never lost the case until they went one-on-one with this guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Tom Mesereau. Good evening, Tom, and welcome back to the King Jordan Radio Show. How are you?
Hi, Jordan. I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. It's really an honor and privilege. It's a very special day, and I'm sitting at an outdoor restaurant with family, having some pizza in Los Angeles. Look forward to being on your show, and you're always a real gentleman and a real professional, and you've done a lot for the legacy of Michael Jackson, and I really appreciate it. I know others do, too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, and the fans definitely do appreciate it, and we will get to the fans. But during the testimony, I want to get right into it. This is courtesy of Luna Joe. There was a question around March or so. Did Jay Leno lie on the witness stand when he said that the Arvizios were looking for money? Now, this clip will explain what I'm talking about. So I'm going to play it, and then I want to get your take on the other side, courtesy of the great Luna Joe 67.
So what about the
details about Princess Diana?
There is a new controversy surrounding the book The Da Vinci Code.
You'll see only on Good Morning America.
Right to Die case, Michael Jackson case. We've all been wondering, what did comedian Jay Leno have to do with this case? What did he tell police about Jackson's accuser? Well, our lead Jackson trial correspondent, 2020's Jim Avila, joins us now from Santa Maria, California, with another report you'll see only on Good Morning America. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Diane. A man who makes his living telling jokes has something very serious to say about the Michael Jackson case. As you know, Jay Leno is on the witness list, and ABC News has got an exclusive look at what he's telling sheriff's investigators, and it's not good for the prosecution.
He has the judge's permission to make fun. But Jay Leno's role in the Michael Jackson trial is no joke. In fact, what he told the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department may well become a major issue in this trial. A source close to the case has shown exclusively to ABC News what he says is a transcript of the tape-recorded police interview with Leno. In that transcript, Leno appears to directly contradict the accuser, who told the jury he left several messages but never spoke directly to the Tonight Show host. Instead, Leno says he remembers taking 1 or 2 phone calls from the accusing family when the boy was sick with cancer, and Leno was top of the list of the celebrities the boy wanted to meet. He says the mom was on the line first. Leno: a while back, the mother called. Oh, my son, he's 12 years old. Oh, he loves you. The talk show host said he was immediately suspicious. Leno: I'm not that much of an egomaniac. I don't know why a 12-year-old would be infatuated with a 55-year-old guy who does political jokes and things. And I said, well, what can I do for you? Or, well, I can't remember the exact of the phone call, but essentially sort of looking for money. Then Leno says the mom put the boy on the phone and, quote, it all sounded very rehearsed to me. Investigator: they were looking for money? Leno: I think so. It just sounded a little suspicious. Leno tells sheriff's investigators in this transcript he did not remember the conversation until he watched the Martin Bashir documentary and heard the boy's name. An unusual name, says Leno, that jarred his memory. Even though I think Michael Jackson is guilty, I still went, boy, they finally found a mark. And perhaps the most damaging quote, Leno tells the investigator, I don't know if he's reading from a script, but it just sounded coached.
The Michael Jackson defense team has now caught this young accuser in a big lie that's going to truly impact on his credibility.
Now, a source close to the family tells ABC News, quote, remember, this is a 12-year-old who can have an innocent misrecollection. And remember, the source says, this Leno episode has nothing to do with the heart of the case, that whether or not Jackson molested the boy or not. Diane?
All right, Jim, stand by with us, if you will, because joining us here with me is ABC News legal contributor Kimberly Guilfoyle Newsom. I want to talk to both of you. Kimberly, I'll start with you. What about this 12-year-old boy? Even if it's a direct contradiction, is it necessarily explosive in the case?
I think it absolutely is. This is a devastating blow to the prosecution's case. I was shocked that the district attorney didn't deal with it himself, preempt this issue by the defense, because this is a case of credibility. Who will you believe at the end of the day? First, you have an American icon, Michael Jackson, where I believe in cases like this, almost a different standard of proof applies. You have a young boy with somewhat of an unsavory mother, and now you have credibility. Jay Leno coming in and saying, I spoke to this boy, the boy saying, no, I didn't. Someone's not telling the truth.
But back to you, Jim, is there any chance that Jay could have been confused in any way? And it could have been somebody else?
Well, it's difficult for the prosecution because, as you saw, Jay Leno says, I believe Michael Jackson is guilty. I'm sorry that I'm having to come forward this, and it hurts your case. But nevertheless, he does come forward. And for some reason, he says he saw that Martin Bashir tape. And when he saw the Martin Bashir tape, it reminded him of this unusual name that the boy has. and he didn't think there was any mistake.
But Kimberly, you talked about his mother. I mean, this is a young boy who loved comedy.
Yes.
We know that. If she was trying to do anything for his son who was sick, what mother wouldn't?
Bring some joy into her son's life.
Right, to make this phone call.
It seems innocent enough, Diane, but again, Jay Leno saying that it sounded suspicious, rehearsed. Perhaps then with Michael Jackson, they'd finally found their mark. Again, Michael Jackson, many people say, look, this is someone with deep pockets. So what is the motivation?
And again, the prosecution would have known about this all along.
Absolutely.
So they would have heard for it, you would think. What do you think happened
I think they're going to have to say, we're getting a clue here from Jim's story, that they're going to say this is not a black or white area. This isn't someone's lying and someone isn't telling the truth here. What it is going to come down to a gray area. That's the best the prosecution can say. Innocent misrecollection. But again, an unusual name for the accuser. You've got Jay Leno. If he walks in that courtroom, and you can bet that he's going to, the jury's going to sit up and take notice. It may be the key to this case. What tips the balance to the jury saying reasonable doubt for Michael Jackson.
Let's get the final word now from Jim. Jim, any sense from you what the prosecution will do to handle this?
No, like our expert there, I was surprised. I was surprised that this is, as you said, Diane, this was an interview done by the sheriff's department, who works for the prosecutor in this case. They know about it, knew about it before this young man took the stand, and did not deal with it.
All right, and no sense yet when Michael Jackson, when Jay Leno might appear. It would be in the defense phase, of course.
Yes, so we have a while to go on this part, but 50 to 60 witnesses still for the prosecution.
Right. Okay. Thanks to you, Jim. I know you're there every day, and of course you can get complete Michael Jackson trial coverage on our website, gma.abcnews.com, and thanks to you, Kimberly, as well. Time now for the weather again with Tony Perkins.
All right, Diane.
Okay, Tom, there was a lot of confusion. What did exactly Mr. Jay Leno said? I think counsel for the prosecution said that Jay Leno didn't say these things that we're hearing from this clip. Can you tell us what you heard, what you know of Jay Leno and his family?
Let me tell you what happened, okay? Everything that has been reported in the segments that I just heard sounds accurate to me. The Santa Barbara sheriff secretly recorded an interview with Jay Leno. He didn't know they had recorded it. And in that interview, he said the things that we just heard people talk about. So I subpoenaed Jay Leno. I served him with a subpoena. And when I served him with a subpoena, his lawyer called me on the phone. And he said, first he said, Jay Leno doesn't remember anything that happened. I said, well, then I'll just put him on the stand and I'll refresh his recollection and make him look like a fool. And his lawyer was dumbfounded. I said, you know something, sir? I said, I don't blame you for doing your job. You're a lawyer protecting your client. Did you know the Santa Barbara sheriff secretly recorded Jay Leno? And he was like dumbfounded. And I said, if he doesn't want to cooperate, I'll put him on the stand and I'll make an embarrassment of him before the whole world. And I said, would you like me to send you a copy of this recording? And he said, yes. And I sent it to him. And they didn't want to cooperate, but they had a subpoena. And Leno got on and told the truth. And I thought he really helped us. He didn't want to help us, but he helped us because he told the truth. He said the things that we just talked about, or you just reported to me. And he was a great help to us.
Wow. Well, was he didn't want to be. He didn't want to be a help. Was he a reluctant witness? Very reluctant. And I said, well, finally, I said, look, you know, the whole world's watching. I'll make a fool out of your client. Is that what you want? And the lawyer was like dumbfounded. And then I said, do you know the Santa Barbara sheriff secretly recorded him, and we have his statements on record? And by the way, he did say in that interview he didn't really want to help the defense. He thought Michael was guilty. But he said there are problems with this witness. And now, for the sake of our audience, can you just tell us what subpoena means?
Subpoena is a document that you have served on someone, which means you present them with a document, the way you force a witness into court. And a subpoena is like a court order. It's an order essentially saying you must appear. The law requires that witness to appear. And sometimes you subpoena people because they don't want to appear. sometimes you subpoena them, they want to appear, but they're employed, and they want to make sure their employer knows they've been forced to come into court. But it is, in effect, a court order, and it compels someone to come into court and do what they're asked to do. So I got nasty, I got rough with his lawyer, and he came in, and he ended up really helping us a lot. And if someone says he didn't help us, they're smoking the wrong weed.
Talk to Tom Mesereau at 347-857-2950. Unblock your call if you do want to speak to him. I do want to get to another clip from Mr. Ron Zonen. This clip is courtesy of, you guessed it, of Jolanda Luna from the Netherlands. So let's give her some props to this. This is a local show where apparently they are telling Mr. Zonen that they believe in Michael Jackson's innocence. So let's play this short clip, and I want to get your take on the other side. And then I have some comments to read to you, and then we'll go to the audience.
I just have to get in. As an acting teacher, I've taught members of the Jackson family. Private lessons here, and a couple of them were in my classes in Santa Monica. And I have to say, I agree with them that Michael was innocent. That's my opinion, as a layman here.
I don't argue with people about that. I mean, obviously, this is going to be an issue with for the rest of my life because people confront me with those types of things.
And there's pros and cons, I assume.
Well, I mean, I don't see it as pro and cons, but certainly there are plenty of people who do, and I don't debate them about that subject. If they want to believe in Michael Jackson's innocence, they're certainly welcome to do so.
And his wife, Lisa Marie, thought he was innocent too.
Well, his wife was never his wife. I mean, they never had a marital relationship. I mean, the staff at Neverland told us she never once shared his room. So that wasn't a marriage that was really a marriage, right. Nor was the one with Debbie Rowe. That was both of those were shams. But what I find intriguing, frankly, is today the child who was involved in the case that I prosecuted, never mind the other two who received judgments in terms of money, a great deal of money from Michael Jackson to end their involvement in the criminal prosecution. But the one that I was involved in, involving a child who's never taken a penny. That child was 12 years old when he was molested. He was 13 years old when he disclosed. And to this day, we still hear the defense attorneys walking around talking about this, family of grifters and thieves and criminals. He was 13 when he gave a disclosure that was the other two kids did. Today, he's 20 years old, almost 21. He's an honor student at a prominent university on the East Coast. He has a 3.6 grade point average. He's majoring in philosophy and history. Involved in his church. He doesn't drink, he doesn't use drugs, he's never taken a penny from anybody on any issue dealing with this case, although he has continuous offers for 6 figures, which would pay all of his college tuition, and he has never taken a penny. He's never given an interview. He's never talked about it. He's probably going to go on to graduate school. I'm in touch with him regularly. I speak with him on a regular basis. Very actively involved in his church. Rather conservative, registered Republican, which may be the nature of the school that he goes to, which tends to be a fairly conservative private school. But he's doing remarkably well. And I think that somebody who had an opportunity to spend some time with him would probably reflect very differently on what had happened. You're welcome to your opinion. I have no problem with anybody expressing their opinion.
I think a great deal of the family.
I understand that.
And what they think of him.
I understand that.
Before we get through, Mr. Zonen, I would like to ask you, in your long career as a prosecutor and presence here in Santa Barbara, what are you proudest of?
My answer to that question would probably be different each time you ask me. I recently was having a conversation with someone who was interviewing me for an article on the same nature, and I traced for her the development of the law in California that dealt with the prosecution of sex offenses. And I was explaining to her what life was like for a victim of a sexual assault back in the 1960s, and then changes that occurred in the 70s, and I started doing this in 1979, and the types of cases that we encountered at that time. And I remember doing the first date rape case in Santa Barbara, and I remember doing the first spousal rape case in Santa Barbara. These were unheard of back in the 70s. and the 60s. I mean, they were really remarkable prosecutions. Today we do them regularly. Jurors understand them. And I think that my involvement in this transformation of this field and the ability to bring to juries more effective cases in sexual assault and child molest cases, I think ultimately, back upon my career, I would say that was the area that I'm most proud of. But boy, that answer could change if we have this conversation tomorrow.
What would you do over again?
Oh, that's interesting. I would have tried Jackson certainly differently. But I would say that about every case that I've ever tried, win or lose. But if I had to do it over again, I would do it differently.
Well, we are certainly grateful to have you as a guest today. Thank you for coming on and talking to us.
My pleasure.
We've learned a lot from you.
Directors also say that about movies they do. My daughter was in the Elia Kazan movie, and he says he doesn't even look at them because he sees what he could have done differently.
Sure.
Okay, Tom Mesereau, your take of what Mr. Zonen said glowingly about the accuser and some of the things that he said.
Well, first of all, I've been much more complimentary of Ron Zonen than he has been of me. I never faced a better prosecutor. I think he was amazingly prepared, very, very talented, very experienced, very passionate, very persuasive. I never faced a better one. But he was dead wrong. That was the problem. And I don't think he'll ever get over this loss. It was the most watched case in history. You had more media covering it than any case in American history. More media were in Santa Maria than, the O.J. Simpson and Scott Peterson cases combined. And when I got in the case, I remember meeting with Mr. Snedden, Mr. Zonen, Mr. Auchincloss, and I remember concluding to myself, these people think there's no way they're going to lose this case. And they think they're going to be major figures on the world stage, and they're feeling no pain. And I sensed a real feeling of hubris on their part, and I felt that this is something I can exploit, that I can take advantage of, because when prosecutors start feeling no pain, thinking they can't lose a case, and start getting wrapped up with the media and self-importance, they're going to make a mistake. And that's how I view things. And these people just were on cloud nine. And I think they were shocked as the case went on and saw a lot of their witnesses just get destroyed on the stand. And I think they were shocked that what the media told them was going to happen did not happen. And I don't think they'll ever get over the loss. I commend him for standing up for his alleged victim. That's his job. He's convinced himself that Gavin Arvizo told the truth. I don't think Gavin Arvizo said very much that was correct. Was he influenced by others to say this? Did he honestly believe what he was saying was correct because he was influenced by others? I really don't know the answer to that. All I know is that what he said, in my opinion, was dead wrong about Michael Jackson. And I think we've proved it because, as I've said many times, I was advised by people close to me, don't take the case. It's going to destroy your life and destroy your career. That you can't win it, especially in a courthouse like that. You've got a very conservative jury pool. A lot of them come from the neighboring Air Force base. The conviction rate is extraordinarily high in that courthouse. And you can't win it. And the rest of your life, anywhere you go in the world, people who see you are going to say he's the one that sent Michael Jackson to prison. And, I took the case for many reasons. I really didn't know Michael Jackson at the time, but I said, I'm a criminal defense lawyer. This is what I do. This is what I believe in. And we make the system work, and we take courageous positions, and we have throughout American history. And I did what I thought was right, and I don't think these get over the loss because it was just so convincing a loss. I mean, he was indicted on 10 felony counts, but at the end of the trial, the judge, on his own motion, and this wasn't requested by the prosecutors, it was on his own motion, the judge said, I'm going to allow the jury the option of considering 4 misdemeanors on the last 4 felony counts. If they acquit on those counts, they can consider a misdemeanor option. And so he essentially added four decisions that the jury had to make in addition to the 10 indicted felonies. And so they had to make decisions on 14 charges, and they said not guilty on everything, even the 4 misdemeanors. So this was a humiliating loss for them, a devastating loss for the Santa Barbara District Attorney's Office and anyone who helped them. And I don't think these people will ever get over it. It's over 10 years later. I don't think they'll ever get over it. And Ron has a right to believe what he wants to believe. He's a dedicated, prosecutor. Dead wrong as far as I'm concerned. And I hear him, it's reported to me that he says things like the jury was starstruck. Well, they weren't starstruck. Who did you have? And then he had said things like it was a dumb jury. A dumb jury?
He also said on a program here in New York and limited to some areas, he said that he told Tom Mesereau prior to the verdict exactly what it's going to be, and he said he knew all along. What's your thoughts on that?
What?
He knew all
along what?
He said he knew all along that Michael was going to be found innocent.
Well, that's just pure nonsense. I mean, that's just utter self-serving baloney. I'm surprised he would go that far. First of all, he started saying that it was a dumb jury, okay? Dumb jury. We had a math teacher with a master's degree in math. The foreperson was a former school principal with a master's degree in counseling. We had a civil engineer on the jury. We had the head of the local social services department. We had people with military backgrounds. It was one of the more intelligent juries I've ever seen, okay? So when Zonen started trying to sell that and he fell flat on his face, now I guess he's trying to say he thought they would lose all along. I don't believe that for 5 minutes. I think these prosecutors were full of themselves, full of their self-importance, thought they were going to win. And Zonen was the best of the three of them. But I really, remember they had a victory party the weekend before. There's a local restaurant in the Santa Maria community called the Hitching Post. It's considered the finest restaurant in that community. And I remember journalist Roger Friedman and journalist Aphrodite Jones were in that restaurant and learned that the prosecutors, their staff, their police, husbands and wives were all celebrating. The weekend before, the jury came back with a verdict. They came back with a verdict on that Monday. So why are you having a victory party if you don't think you're going to win?
Exactly. And another thing about these jurors, it's not like they went out in 7 hours and they made a decision. They took probably notes and stuff like that. If they were so, starstruck, why wouldn't they come back in, a quick 3 hours if they were quote-unquote...
They spent over a week. They wanted to read back testimony. They wanted to see evidence in the jury room, deliberate. They took their job very seriously. They were very intelligent, and they did the right thing. And, for Zonen to say things like this is utter nonsense. He just did sour grapes. He's still embarrassed, and he won't get over this. That's what it sounds like to me. But regardless of what he's doing, I have to tell you, he's a very, very skilled, very effective prosecutor. I've never seen a better one. And I repeat, I say better things about him than he says about me.
It sure sounds that way. Okay, let's try some callers. Let's go out to area code 707. Please state your name and where you're calling from. You're live on the phone with Tom Mesereau, 707.
Hello. Are you talking with me? Is it my turn?
Yes, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Lisa Dawn. I'm calling from Santa Rosa, California.
Hi.
Northern California.
Mesereau. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Thomas Mesereau. During trial, you told me that your sister was so sick and dying, and I thank you so much for being so kind and so putting your focus on Michael. And you told me, I met you in Los Angeles in
early July of 2011, and we conversed at your car, and I had made 15 trips to support Michael, 12 trips during the pretrial court hearings, and I was there every single one of 20 pretrial court hearings in 2004, and then 3 long-stay trips in 2005. And you were so focused on Michael, yet you were fair and kind to Michael's supporters who showed up, who traveled from all over the world. And even though at the same time your sister was dying, and we thank you so much for not quitting to be there for your sister and knowing that Michael's life was on the line. Thank you so much for all
words. Thank you for your very kind words. It was I got into the Michael Jackson case, I believe it was April of 2004, and, it was like walking into a whirlwind. And my sister my only sibling, was very much behind me and very much behind Michael. And I learned in approximately October of 2004 that she was terminally ill with cancer of the lung and the brain, and it was very devastating for me. And I had to juggle all this, while at the same time dealing with her situation. But I have to tell you, she was a great supporter of Michael. She wanted him to be acquitted, and she wanted him to win. And it was very tough for me, I have to say that. I would make reports to the judge about her medical condition. And, he wanted the case to start, and I had no choice. It had to start when it did. And in the middle of jury selection, she was not doing well, and I went down to Los Angeles, and she passed away. And as I recall, I had about 10 days to handle her funeral and her affairs, and come back right in the middle of jury selection and jump into that hurricane. But fortunately, we prevailed. We were in the right, and I know she was with us, and she was behind Michael all the way. And thank you for your very kind remarks.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for your kind remarks. Let's go over to 912. Please state your name and where you're calling from. 912, it's your turn. You're on the phone with Tom Mesereau.
Hi, my name is Mel. I'm calling from Georgia.
What is your name?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes. What is your name? Jamel?
Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Okay.
Just Mel.
Oh, Nell. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Mel.
Okay.
M-E-L, Mel. but
I know.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions of you, Mr. Mesereau. This was something that I found when I was doing a little bit of research on Michael's trial. It's something that's not really talked a lot about. It's concerning Larry King and Larry Feldman. I know Larry King, he attempted to testify for the defense, but he was not allowed to do so. I read a couple of conflicting things about what exactly he overheard Larry Feldman say something, or was he told directly to Larry, this information by Larry Feldman? Can you clarify what that whole situation was?
Well, Larry King would have been a devastating witness for the defense against the prosecution, because Larry King, we subpoenaed him as well, and we also subpoenaed another person named Michael Wiener, a well-known publisher in Los Angeles, who was there with Larry King at a delicatessen in Beverly Hills. And according to King, Larry Feldman, the lawyer for Arvizo's, said words to the effect that she, meaning Janet Arvizo, was a wacko and out for money. And the prosecution objected to calling Mr. King or Mr. Wiener as witnesses. We subpoenaed both. They testified in front of the judge, not the jury, in a hearing to determine whether the judge would let them appear in front of the jury. and the judge said he would not. And I think he said they would not because they would have destroyed the prosecution.
Yeah,
That's what
I believe that too. I believe that too because from what I heard Larry say, he said it on the air after Michael passed that he was not allowed to testify because the judge deemed it hearsay. But the judge allowed a lot of hearsay for the prosecution. And I firmly believe what Larry King said because he has no incentive to lie about it. He doesn't
No,
need,
not at all.
He
In
wasn't,
fact, the media was against us. The media
Right.
wanted a conviction.
Exactly.
And the media was looking forward to a huge story if Michael Jackson was convicted, immediately remanded to jail. There would have been probably months of build-up to the sentencing. He would have appeared at sentencing, in jailhouse outfit, chains, whatever. And the media thought this was going to be a field day. They were expecting a huge, huge story, and they were expecting, years and years of documentaries, films, stories about the rise and fall of Michael Jackson, how someone could go that high in life and fall that far. And all they needed was a guilty verdict to do that. And, we did what we had to do, and I think that other judges would have allowed that testimony. I think this judge, who gave us many fair rulings as well, and who I happen to like in many ways, but I think he was afraid that that kind of testimony would thoroughly destroy the prosecution. They got destroyed anyway, thank God, as they should have, but I think that testimony should have come in.
Yeah, I mean, Larry King, he has no incentive to lie about that. He doesn't benefit from helping Michael Jackson in any way. He wasn't friends with Michael. Not to say that they were enemies, but he had no reason to make that up.
Just 1 second. I'm outside. There's a lot of noise. Let me try and get inside. I couldn't hear it last. I haven't signed that yet. I will. I just want to phone.
Sure, take your time, Tom.
Could you say that again?
I was just saying that I believe what Larry King said because again he has no incentive to lie about that. He wasn't particularly friends with Michael. Not saying that they were enemies, but he had no reason to make that up. He doesn't get paid from the tabloids like other people get paid from the tabloids to say something against Michael.
No, and I don't think he wanted to testify either, but we subpoenaed him.
Right.
We had an uphill battle because a lot of people in the media, a lot of other people just didn't want to help us. Because they knew where their bread was buttered. They, like Jay Leno did everything he could to avoid testifying, in my opinion. His lawyer was even threatening to me that, you won't like what he says and blah, blah. I said, well, he's not going to like me when I impeach him and make him look like an idiot in front of the whole universe. which I said words to that effect to his lawyer. See, they didn't know they'd been secretly recorded, or Mr. Leno didn't know the Santa Barbara sheriff had secretly recorded it.
Yeah.
And Larry King and Jay Leno both came up and told the truth.
And
they both came up. They were compelled to come up under subpoena power, and I think King should have been allowed to testify. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I have a couple more questions I wanted to get some clarification on.
Sure.
The law that was changed as a result of the 1993 situation, I've heard a couple of different things about exactly what the law changed. I've heard that it barred a civil case from being able to come before a criminal. Can you clarify? Do you know what exactly the law was? What was the change that occurred because of that?
Well, I mean, the Jordy Chandler, and I wasn't in this case. I'm just telling you what was reported to me. In 1993, did not want to after the civil case settled. He did not want to testify in a criminal proceeding. And my understanding is that Mr. Snedden was very upset with that. He became president of the California District Attorneys Association and put through a change in the law where they could compel someone who's young to testify. And also, the other thing you should know about is that, unlike many other states, in California, in a case like this, you can bring in evidence of other alleged similar acts, even if they were never charged as crimes. And, you know, the judge was permitting and did permit people to come in and testify that they'd seen Michael Jackson molest other people besides the accuser in this case.
Yeah, that's called a
And
1108.
in many states, that's considered grossly unfair. The theory is, look, when you're charged with something like child molestation, that's a horrific charge.
Right.
And you should be able to defend yourself on the facts of that case. That if the prosecution is permitted to bring in evidence that other people, you know, were similarly molested, even if they never were charged, even if the defendant was never charged with it, that's so prejudicial that they'll be blinded by that evidence and not, you know, fairly consider the chief evidence. And California allows prosecutors to bring in that guy. I was told by one of the presidents of the local criminal courts bar association. One second.
Oh, you know that?
Sorry. I was told that the acquittal of Michael Jackson was the first time any would have been acquitted across the board in California in a case where that kind of evidence came in. And this was when I was given the, you know, Criminal Defense Lawyer of the Year award by the association. He said this is the first time it's ever happened. That normally when evidence of prior similar acts comes in a child molest case, you know, a guilty verdict is almost automatic.
Wow. Well, you definitely deserved that award because you were up against a monster of a case. I mean, with the prosecution and the media combined, it was just like this juggernaut of a horrific thing. You know, it was terrible.
Well, I think they were reinforcing each other. But you know something? They were reinforcing each other and blinding each other. For example, going into that trial, everyone said the Bashir documentary is going to kill him. And I didn't think so. Because in the Bashir documentary, you see how Michael Jackson was manipulated, particularly if you look at the outtakes as well. You see what a kind of a person he was. You see him singing and performing as a youngster. You see him expressing his dedication to the world's children. You see what a good human being he is. And he also makes some statements in that documentary about the 93 settlement, that he didn't want to put his family through an OJ-type situation. And there was a lot that was going to come in with that documentary and those outtakes that I thought were going to help us. But the media and the prosecution were convincing each other that this documentary was going to kill us, and I never thought it was going to.
Yeah, they just seem to say whatever they think is going to garner ratings and revenue. What's going to get the newspapers off the stand or what's going to get the magazines off the shelf. They don't really care about what really happened or what didn't happen. All they care about is what can we say that's going to make us money, and that's the same.
They care about ratings and revenue, and that's all they care about.
Absolutely, and thank you for the call. Let's go over to area code 818. Please state your name and where you're calling from. You're on the phone live with Tom Mesereau. 818, it's your turn.
My name is Gregory, and I just wanted to say, Mr. Mesereau, you did an amazing job, and we all believe Michael Jackson was innocent, those that aren't ignorant and those who knew the truth. And, you know, I've personally followed the trial very, very closely, and it was really hard to see and very painful to watch him go through that. And I just wanted to, you know, commend you on doing what you did, and you're God sent. And I'm thankful, and I know the Jackson family and Michael Jackson fans all over the world are thankful. You did an amazing job. You are, you know, the poster child of what a good lawyer is, and God bless you for that.
Well, thank you very much for your very, very kind, generous remarks. You know, I just did my best. Given what I saw and what I thought I could do, I just went forward and did my best. I was appalled at the way Michael was being treated in many ways, including by his prior lawyer, who I thought was doing a dreadful job and who Michael told me he thought was over his head, and just, enjoying the media. And, celebrities have to be very careful what lawyer they choose, because there's so many lawyers who will get into a celebrity-type case and think it's all about the lawyer. It's not about the lawyer. It's about the client. You know,
it is. And I like what you did with Michael, because at the beginning of the trial, it was about this celebrity and a big spectacle. When you came in, it got serious and it became real. And I think that made all the difference, you know what I mean? And you didn't change him, and that was also another good thing, you know, because I think everybody was trying to change him and make him be a certain way, and I think that would have went against him. And I just think you did it with so much integrity.
Thank you so much. I mean, I always told the truth. I got in the case and I said, Michael, you know, I don't want a racial issue in this case. We're in Santa Maria, California, you know, a predominantly white conservative community. It's not likely that we'll have one African American on the jury. And I said, I understand why your father's calling it illegal lynching and Jermaine's calling it illegal lynching, and I understand why black civil rights leaders are very involved, but I said, I don't want any of this. It's not going to help you in front of this community. It's not going to help you in front of this jury pool. Plus, you bring all races together. You know, you don't divide people. You bring them together. You have your whole life. Look at your music. Look at the lyrics. Look at the things you say. Look at your family. You bring everyone together. I said we can't do anything that might be potentially divisive to this, what is likely to be a predominantly white jury. I looked at what prior counsel have been doing, and you know, just the press conferences I thought were very counterproductive. There was one where the lawyer sort of, you know, he acted almost as if he was threatening the local community, saying if you come after Michael Jackson, we'll come after you, this kind of thing, which is ridiculous. And I saw on television this big televised, you know, report about the Michael Jackson team having a big dinner at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I saw all this stuff going on, and it, to me, was all designed to promote the lawyer and not protect Michael Jackson. And I tried to change everything that I thought was right. You know, I could have been fired too, because I took very strong positions about what it took to win this case. But I think
I
remember
meeting him with you. Yeah, I remember with Brian Oxford, there was a little moment there too. But you know, at the end, you were doing the right thing, and you did a wonderful job. I mean, once again, God bless you on that. I've always wondered about what those moments were like on the day that Gavin Arvizo testified, when Michael showed up late, and the judge was on the verge of putting Michael in jail. And when he showed up late, like, what were those moments like for you?
Very, very nerve-wracking for me, because the judge was threatening to pull his bail, forfeit the $3 million of bail, and put him in jail for the rest of the trial. And that would have been a disaster, I think, for Michael, and it would have been very difficult for us to have him sitting in a jail, getting ready to appear in trial every day. The jury clearly would have known he had been jailed. They would have known that he was, you know, his bail was revoked. They would have possibly interpreted this as someone who is not respectful of the court. And I was very, very nervous. Fortunately, we survived that day. That was a rough one for me, and, you know, rough one for a lot of people.
That caller, I believe, flew in from Seattle to go to the trial every day. And he is on Dana Gedrick's video. So just give him a shout out right there. Okay. I do have a question from Twitter. There's several questions here. Okay, these are the questions I have. Okay, this is from Vicky P. Okay, Vicky. Here's one of your questions that I'm going to give. Tom, will you ever write a book about your career or Michael, have you been offered any book deals? That's one question.
I am working on a book at this point. Yes, I am. That's all I have to say at the moment.
Will it be out this year? Can you comment on that?
Probably not this year, but I think in the next couple of years, I would hope so.
And just let me say on the side note, out of all the people that came out with great books, I mean, you were right there in terms of the trial, and I think you told me the passage of time has helped also in terms of information to make a better book that that people could read. Would you agree with the passage
Well,
of time?
after the trial, I was approached by one publisher who I didn't really think too highly of, and I was asked to do a book about myself, not a book about the trial, and I didn't really respond to that. Then I obtained a top agent in New York, one of the top book agents, who was very excited about a book. She said everyone in New York was wondering how we won this case. They didn't think it was possible. And she was very excited about a book, and she went to approximately 9 major publishers, and they didn't want a positive book about Michael Jackson, I was told. So I didn't pursue the book anymore after that. But right now I am in the process of writing a book, and I would think within the next couple of years it'll be published, I hope.
And you'll definitely tell us on King Jordan Radio when it's ready to come out, I hope.
Of course I will.
Okay, great. Another question from Vicky P. via Twitter. Michael claimed that the police roughed him up during the arrest. He said he locked them in the bathroom and proceeded, and even produced photos of bruises on his arms as evidence. He was assaulted, but nothing seems to have done about this. Can you comment on his claims?
Well, I wasn't his lawyer at the time, and I wasn't a witness to what happened. He did tell me he was roughed up. But remember, Michael was also a very sensitive, very kind, very intuitive, very gentle artist. He didn't like violence. He didn't like, this kind of situation at all. And he wasn't built for it. And I don't doubt he was, in his mind, roughed up. I don't doubt that he was bruised. I don't doubt that this whole process was terrifying and humiliating to him. And, as I say, someone else who's used to the system and goes to jail a lot and thinks they can, do jail standing on their head, that kind of person probably wouldn't have reacted the way he did. But he wasn't used to this. He wasn't built for it, and he wasn't there for any just purpose. So to him, everything associated with this was humiliating. Was just it was just a horrible, horrible time for him. But remember, I wasn't his lawyer when these things, I can only tell you that he told me he was roughed up and humiliated and just was horrified to be in that situation.
Yes. And her last comment/statement is, you are one of the most famous lawyers in American history, and people must certainly recognize you on the street. However, have you ever encountered a negative bad reaction, such as from a Michael Jackson, quote, hater?
Well, I mean, I've had people who were disagreed with me, and, I remember one time after the Michael Jackson verdict, I was speaking at a local bar association in Los Angeles, and I came out and I got in my car and I was driving out of the restaurant parking lot where the meeting took place, and a guy screamed, "What molester did you get off this week?"
Oh, my.
But, some of that happened, but, I had many more positive responses. I had people from all walks of life, all ages, all races, children, grandparents, coming up to me, thanking me for helping Michael. So, for every negative comment, there was, probably 300 positive comments. I had little kids running up to me, "Thank you for saving Michael." I mean, I had grandparents. I had people, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Arabic. I mean, all kinds of people were so happy that Michael Jackson was vindicated. So were there negative comments? Yes. Do I care about them? No. Really don't.
Speaking of comments, we have plenty to get into, but we have a lady that says that Micheline, I don't think it's pronouncing her name right, James can't call in. She says she's the person that sent you a framed letter 5 years ago and hopes that you still have it.
I tell her I know exactly what she's talking about. It was a great honor to receive that, and I still have it, and I'm just very grateful for the support I had and what she did. I know exactly what she's talking about. It's one of my prized possessions.
Absolutely. And we do have some comments left via Facebook. Let's go out to Leon K. Thank you, Mr. Mesereau, for helping Michael. You brought justice for him. You believed in him. We love Michael, and we will love you forever. Michael innocent! Exclamation point.
Well, that's very wonderful, and thank you for all the support I got throughout this, and thank you for believing in Michael. We were in the right, and justice prevailed. It's just too bad he had to endure the physical and emotional and psychological pain involved, but justice did prevail. He was vindicated completely. 14 not guilty, 10 felonies, 4 misdemeanors. It was a humiliating defeat for the prosecution. They never should have brought the case.
We have Zarko C. writes in, thank you, Mr. Mesereau, but deep in my heart, Tom, thank you for standing by Michael in his darkest hour. Thank you for never turning your back against him, and thank you for all you are doing for the people in general. That is just proof of what a wonderful human being you are, and it is a great privilege and an honor to have a chance to express my gratitude to you, and I just wish one day I could shake your hand. May God bless you, Tom. All the best to you and your family. That is from Zarko C.
Well, thank you so much for your wonderful comments. They're very generous, they're very kind, and I appreciate them very much. I'm very touched. Thank you.
Okay. This is also from Facebook. The rest are. Maria is writing from Italy. Dear Mr. Mesereau, I respect you very much. You've been able to look into the soul of a man slandered. You fought with him as few have done. You continue to do it now. For all the support you gave and still give him, I thank you from the deepest of my heart. You have been able to show the world what is happening to those around him with the soul to act with the best part, without ulterior motives, but pursuing the truth with the heart. It would take many people like you who expose themselves, and they have pride that they would the truth, so this angel would be given dignity. It deserves. You have proven to be a righteous person, and I'm really glad to have the opportunity and the heartfelt to say thank you. And that is from Maria out in Italy via Facebook. Your thoughts?
These are very generous comments, very kind remarks. I appreciate them very much. I did what I thought was right, and I hope I acted as a professional at all times, and that's, justice was done.
No
Jordan, I'm going to have
about-
to leave you. I got to leave you. I have to go with my family to back home, so I can't stay much longer.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this up in 5 more minutes, if that's okay.
Okay.
Just a few more
Sure.
comments. Sure, thanks. I appreciate that. Nan Forster writes in, Mr. Mesereau, you are willingly stepped in a snake pit and protected Michael throughout the treacheries of evil, vicious trial and saved an innocent man's life. You continue to defend him, the same elements even today. Thank God for people like you. You have my utmost respect and gratitude. That comes from Nan Forster.
Well, thank you
Your
so
thoughts?
much, Ms. Foster. I really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, just want to get to one more comment, and we're going to just keep you just 3 more minutes, and we thank Tom Mesereau, the lead attorney How is your case going, though, with your other client, without getting into, just generally saying, without getting
Well,
into
I'm not going to comment too much about the case. I think you're talking about my defending Suge Knight.
Yes.
I've gotten to know Mr. Knight very well. He's been misportrayed for many years.
He's been
just so people know, this is a
Kinda
person
like
who grew up in Compton. He was a honor student. He was a star athlete. He went to college. He was a star athlete and a top student. He played professional football. When that ended, he formed one of the most famous businesses in the world. Was a pioneer in music. And, you know, it was a rough industry. And he was ambushed by enemies, and he fled for his life. And they've charged him with murder for doing that. As I said in open court, if I've been driving the truck that he was driving, they'd be giving me a medal, not charging me with murder. And this is a very unjust case. He's being targeted for who he is, and I look forward to defending him. I look forward to him being acquitted, just like Michael Jackson.
Absolutely. Just a couple of comments, and then we'll say goodnight. This person desperately wanted me to read this to you. This is from Gabby Soretto via Facebook. Mr. Tom, thank you for everything. God bless you. Thank you for your care about Michael. Thanks for being honest and keep defending people causes. I send you a big hug from Mexico. I can't say any more words, just like thank you. I hope one day that I could meet you in person and give you a big hug. And the 29th is also my birthday. It's such an honor to be born on the same day as MJ. Thoughts?
Well, again, thank you for your very, very kind remarks, and happy birthday. Hope you have a wonderful birthday.
Okay, Renee Robb, thank you, Mr. Mesereau, for caring about people, especially Michael. I think you literally saved his life that time. Your generosity and kindness of spirit is evident. May God continue to bless your efforts. That's from Renee Robb on Facebook.
Well, thank you so much. You're very, very kind, very generous, and very nice, and I'm very honored. Thank you so much.
And this is the final one. Maria Flag. Hi there, Sir Mesereau. What a great blessing that you came into Michael's life and defended him, and still is loyal up to this day. I'm also honored and blessed. I met you personally at Gardner School on June 25th, 2011. That handshake between us was just so warm and sincere. I was so happy. God bless you, sir. Keep up the good work. And that comes from Maria via Facebook.
Well, thank you very much, Maria. I really appreciate it. And Jordan, thank you for all the good work you do, and thank you for including me in your shows. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Tom, you've been a absolute, an amazing guest, an amazing lawyer. Good luck with your upcoming trial. We're all rooting for you, and you could hear by the fans' reaction that everybody definitely loves Tom Mesereau. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we all celebrate a very sensitive, generous, caring, brilliant human being, Michael Jackson. Thank you so much.
Good night, Tom. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, coming up at fifth quarter after the hour, we will have Miss Ola Ray, who was in the Michael Jackson video. She played Michael Jackson's girlfriend. That is coming up in about 10 minutes. So what I want to do now is play some Michael Jackson music in the meantime while we have time. So, and give a big shout out to Tom Mesereau. An amazing, amazing job he did, as always. But let's go out to the history tour, 1997, before all the raid logs in. And I'm going to play you a combination of They Don't Care About Us, In the Closet, and Scream. And then it's Ola Ray from Thriller right after this.